Yo. Back to here, sorry. Lola. Fellas, I'm setting up, so chill, please.
Got it.
Yo, is that Ronnie or Ralph?
Ronnie.
Ronnie, hi.
No.
What's up, Ronnie?
Good. What's up, G?
Nothing much, man. You know, doing my own IT over here.
I hear you.
You know, and I'm struggling. So when a young motherfucker tell me some bullshit like he said, I'm like, come on, man. This would be Lulu. And then I'm gonna go ahead and put Facebook. Because Ronnie, we're live on Facebook, IG, and Twitter.
Yeah, I don't have Twitter or Facebook, so.
No, I know you don't. And I didn't see you on IG either. I look for you.
You got off of Facebook, Ron?
Yeah, about 5 years ago.
Well, it's still, hold up. I'm almost sure.
If it is, it's a fake account out there. It ain't mine.
Okay. Well, yeah, definitely. Let me see.
I sent out a thing letting everybody know that.
Yeah, just help me. Don't confuse me. Okay, what else do I do now? Okay, fellas, we probably going live now. So now I go to Chrome and hit webcam.
Yeah, it's definitely still there, Ron.
Yeah, it's not me.
Might have forgot to delete that joint. I'm gonna send you the screenshot.
Big Ralph, you in the room?
Yeah, hey, what's up, dude?
Hey, Big Sexy, how you doing?
Good, man. How you doing?
Ralph?
Man, I
Hey,
got
Ronnie, how's it going, man?
I got no.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Ralph, you gonna give us some visual?
Oh, wait.
Yeah. Hit that stop video.
Yeah, both of them got to do that.
Where's hang on.
Hold on.
Mark, appreciate you doing that bike,
there
that
it is.
BLM bike ride yesterday. That was a good look on multiple fronts.
Long as I ever ridden.
All right.
Big Ralph.
What's up, man? How's it going?
Got it, man.
What's up, family? What's up, family? Yes, sir.
Glad to see y'all here, man. I'm gonna hop off. I'm gonna be in the room. If y'all wanna, if something is not coming up that you want, just hit me on the text. And I'll try to get that in. Me and Jane got a little system.
Okay.
We're trying to continually work out. So just hit me up on the text on the phone, and I'll try to get it in for you.
Ron, I think Ronnie HighSmith is texting you right now because we can't see this motherfucker. this motherfucker back on the base at Fort Lee. Come on, motherfucker. come on, Sarge. You got so many people waiting to hear you. You better come on, Sarge.
Right,
there you go. Hey, baby.
There he is.
There you go. Yes, sir.
Hey.
Yes, sir.
Hey, y'all got to leave Ron alone. He was busy putting them creases in his jeans. All right, fellas, have a good show, man.
Keep them sharp.
All right.
Thanks, Stansbury. Appreciate you.
Got it. All right, let me get out of here.
So, fellas, if you have any questions about how this go down, don't even worry about it. This is a Hoya friendly space. Both of you guys mean a lot to me in terms of your contributions, and that's basically what I'm gonna get into. What I sent you was basically just a general overview. Those questions may come, they may not come,
Yeah.
and I'm just looking forward to it. So we got a minute. Normally people jump on before, and so they're hearing this bullshit. And Ralph, I mean, Ralph's known me a long time. Ralph has nicknames for me that I don't even understand where they came from. So I just say all that to say, this really means a lot to me, to be able to showcase players, former players that don't necessarily get the light, and more importantly, don't want the light. We understood, 4 years in, you out. You had your 4 years to lay your groundwork and to keep that legacy going that was established. And I think of 3 people that I know, I think that's what we did. We left our mark, and just from the receptions, some of the texts and the quotes and comments from people that are looking forward to hearing you both, I think that speaks for itself. 10 a.m., the Bewitching Hour, Hoya Locker Room, episode 23. I have Ralph Dalton and Ronnie HighSmith, 2 players for me, epitomize, they're shining examples of what a Georgetown player represents on and off the court. So we're gonna spend some time celebrating them, celebrating both of you. Just do a little Q&A, a little storytelling, because that's what Hoya Locker Room is all about. Storytelling, sharing our experiences, and I think the fans appreciate it. I want to start off by saying thank you both. It's a Sunday. I know you both are family people, except for Ronnie being in Vegas. You 24/7 anyway. But I want to thank you both for lending your time. And I just want to start real quick. Big Sexy, that's my AKA for Ralph Dalton. My AKA for Ronnie today will be Sarge, affectionately known as Sarge. So Big Sexy, I text Coach Ewing today, early this morning. And I said, I have Big Sexy coming on, and I'm going to show him some love. Now, I want to preface that by saying, I don't talk to Patrick that much. That has nothing to do with the love we have for one another. It's just that, the circles, we flow, we move around. There's no animosity. It's just one of those things. I respect his time. This is probably the only time he texts me back. And it was so short and succinct, Ronnie. It was glad to hear it. That made my day. That made my day. So with that, I want to just start into how you both wound up on the hilltop, what that was like, what that recruitment process was like for you both. And yeah, I don't care which one you start, but I just love to hear how you got to the hilltop.
Well, Ralph the senior, so Ralph, you can start and I'll follow.
Well, when I first met Coach, the first time I saw Coach Thompson, he was at the high school I was at the time, basically watching Thurl Bailey play. He didn't know.
Rest in peace, Thurl Bailey.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't know I existed at the time, and I did not leave an impression then at that point. And that was my first year playing basketball organized. Then that next summer, I was playing in a tournament, and that was the first opportunity I got to meet Coach Thompson. I had no idea who he was. I didn't know anything at all about Georgetown. I've heard a lot of people talking and joking about they thought it was, a historically black college. But I knew nothing about Georgetown, historically black or anything else. But then I met John Thompson, and he left such an impression on me that it's, as I've said before, I really wasn't thinking about college. It wasn't something that was a part of the environment, the community that I lived in. But I knew I wanted options, and he presented an option for me to potentially go and, do something different. And I, play basketball. I wasn't a star at the time or whatever, but I guess I had something in me that he liked. And that was the start of it.
You were quoted in the Times article, and it was a minute ago, and it basically what you just summed up. And it just said your decision to go to Georgetown was about options. It was about the opportunity. It was about much more than basketball. Because they were like, okay, you're coming to Georgetown as a center, and you're coming in at the same time as Patrick. So I think that kind of, you let people know what it was like to be recruited by Big John, and also what the university was about.
Yeah, and just to further that along, it's interesting. My youngest daughter is a freshman in college this year. And as you know, this year has been a very different year for us all. And her senior year ended in high school, uneventful but different. And then her freshman year started, where the only people on her campus are freshmen. And it's a different kind of an experience. And she called me up about 2-3 weeks ago. And she's like, Daddy, how did you survive in college? And I explained, and as you know, Gene and Ronnie, my freshman year was a very different freshman year than most people that go, especially who play sports or whatever. And she's like, well, what motivated you? And quite honestly, my biggest motivation is I did not want to disappoint my mom. My mom was my everything. And I didn't want to disappoint her. And to the point you just made about options, I knew that being in the streets wasn't for me. I wanted to do something different. And then when the opportunity and the possibility of going to college came about, it was real for me. It was scary. I didn't know if I belonged. I didn't know if I deserved. However, I knew that I was determined, and I knew I was capable.
6'11" and on the street slanging, that wouldn't have been a good look, Ralph. I'm glad you chose the other thing. Ronnie, before you start, I want to let you know, we didn't overlap, but I was going out the door as you were coming in.
Right.
And all I heard about was all you forwards, you don't even have to worry about showing up next year. I got a 6'8" Reaper coming in here like Dr. J. And all I could say to myself was, man, I'm glad I'm not going to be here because I don't want nobody ducking on me because I'm going to try to take a charge. What was it like? How did it happen? Because you came pre-sold, my man.
Well, let me tell you, like Ralph, I think one of the things that impressed me most when I met Coach Thompson, naturally I knew about Coach because, Georgetown was like the team to be, at that time. So now all of a sudden I got Big John coming to visit me. I was stationed I was in the military at the time. So I'm stationed at Fort Lee, Virginia. So Coach Thompson come down to visit me. And I'm gonna tell you, I have never been more nervous in my entire life. I was so nervous. But one of the things that stuck with me more than anything that Coach said during that visit, he came in and, before he started, he got the pleasantries out of the way. And he said, let's be clear.
You had pleasantries? Good for you.
Oh, yeah. The pleasantry was, how you doing, kid? But what Coach said was Georgetown basketball can do more for you than you can do for Georgetown basketball. He said, we're not looking for a savior. This will be a great opportunity for you. And in the recruiting world, I was in the military, so my recruiting thing took a little bit different turn than most guys coming out of high school. So you got the coaches showing up, everybody telling you, oh, you're gonna do this and you're gonna be that. Big John wasn't having any of that. He was like, hey, this will be an opportunity for you to grow and learn, and you will learn. He left out the part where you're gonna get cursed out, but let me tell you something. All that was super important to me, and like I said, it stuck with me. throughout my whole career there. And it's one of those things where he didn't sugarcoat anything when we met. And that was important to me.
Can I ask you, I want to keep going with you for a second, Ronnie. Coming out of Fort Lee, coming out of the military, were there similarities that existed at Georgetown in terms of how the program was being run that were easier for you to pick up and run with? Did you find your level of understanding for that commitment that was being asked of you easier to adjust to, or was it a deer in headlights because you're coming into a situation where the team is the defending national championship? See, I don't know what that felt like.
Well, it was a deer in the headlight because you would think that like these were the national champions, and so you trying to add something to that team meant a whole lot. And as a freshman and as a young person, I didn't know what that would be, so it was scary, and all you wanted to do was just fit in, just be a part of a great team, and Georgetown was already great when I got there, so it wasn't like a lot of the teams that I played on prior where, they was okay, but I always felt like, when I suited up, I always felt like I was bringing something to the table. When I got to Georgetown, I felt like, wow, I just wanted to fit in and just trying to learn from these guys that was so talented. So it was hard.
But was the mental difficult for you to deal with? Because I'm just thinking, okay. Yeah.
No, the mental part, it really wasn't. Like I said, the most difficult thing was understanding that I knew I could play. Well, let me change that. I thought I could play. Until
you could play. You wouldn't have been there if you couldn't play. If you couldn't play.
Yeah, I thought I could play until I got there. And then I realized, oh, shit, I really don't know this game at all. So as we all know, it took a couple of MF to get you on track.
In translation, more than a couple. It was a couple thousand.
So to get ready.
So what's on my birth certificate? Was it Ronnie HighSmith or was it? I mean, I was like, I wasn't sure at one point.
Yeah.
But it was having a mindset. One of the things that the military brought was hopefully a little bit of discipline, so I was trying to be, patient. I was trying to be disciplined, and hopefully that I was going to be able to pick it up and again, be able to contribute to the team. And that's all I wanted to do.
So in preparation for talking to you two, I went back and watched the St. John's series, Cap Center and Madison Square Garden. And not remembering that I was at the game at Madison Square Garden, not remembering. And we lost to St. John's, or you guys lost to St. John's at the Cap Center that year.
Mm-hmm.
And then you pretty much let them know that was an aberration, and you waxed that ass at the Garden. And Ronnie, contrary to what you just said, clearly you were doing something right early in the season because you got run. Big Sexy was getting run. So you definitely were part of the success of that team. But I bring out the St. John's game because I think it's interesting because obviously it was damn near all Big East Final Four that year.
Right.
So I just want to get into the mindset because in watching the game, you guys were day and night, right? And things happen during the year and you mature. Obviously, later in the year, you come closer together. But you both had great games in the Garden. Big Sexy, the dunk. Oh, baby. Ronnie, I was trying to figure out why you didn't punch that one you had. You could have punched it, Ronnie. I was expecting you to punch that. That's what Big John sold me, that you could punch that. But if you guys could just share what it was like that year, that series in particular, how you grew or how you maybe realized that the pressure was on, or just anything, because I had David and Horace on, David Green and Horace Broadnax, and they talked about that year like you guys were like the Beatles, right? Going through the country. So I kind of want your feeling on that year, and just anything you can share about the St. John, because that St. John's series was a beast.
Well, I'll start, Ralph, if you want.
Yeah.
St. John's, it was just one of those teams that you just hated, you know. And for me, I disliked St. John's for a couple of reasons. And number one, because the Big East tournament was played in Madison Square. So it was always like, you know, they had a home court advantage, you know, every year. So and especially that year that you were right. It was like traveling with the Beatles, man. When you went out, it was like fans from everywhere. Well, you guys was just coming off winning the national championship, right? So everywhere you went, people were losing their mind, you know. But St. John was that pinnacle because, you know, you had the Chris Mullins, and then you had the Patrick Ewing, and, you know, all that. But at the end of the day, I couldn't stand St. John, and I wanted, you know, I mean, you know, they'd have a Walter Berry this, Walter Berry that. I just wanted to beat them, you know, and that was, and I guess they were no different really than any other team in the nation, but it was just something special about beating St. John, you know, and to beat their ass in Madison, excuse me, but to beat them was it was just icing on the cake for me.
Big Sexy.
You know, it was the reality is, as you put it, we lost to them early in the year. And that year we had only lost to two teams, and it was a back-to-back loss. I think we lost to St. John's, and then we lost to Syracuse that year, back-to-back. And realistically, that was the only week that year that we weren't ranked number one. We were ranked, you know, we were basically knocked down to the number 2 slot, and that's because St. John's beat us. So when it was time to play St. John's again, it was a really, really big deal. And it was always, as you know, Gene, a huge rivalry. You know, and as Ronnie said, being in Madison Square Gardens, it was theoretically, it was their home court. But it really wasn't, because, you know, we had as many fans in Madison Square Garden as anybody. True. It was just a really, really big deal. And then when Coach Thompson, you know, did the whole thing with the sweater and the shirt, you know, it just made it all this more special, and it just motivated us more. So we already had the motivation. They beat us once this year, and we really wanted to make sure the country knew that that wasn't real, that we, you know, we were better than that one game, and we had a point to prove. And I think we did.
And we were the of the East.
that is for sure. I want to read something to you two, and this is what you two represent to me. 82 Big East tournament champions, 82 NCAA runner-up, 84 Big East regular season champs, 84 Big East tournament champs. Oh, let me go back to 82 NCAA runner-up. I try to forget that sometimes, but you know how that is. 84 Big East champs, 84 Big East tournament champs, 84 NCAA champs, 85 Big East champs, 85 NCAA runner-up, 87 Big East regular season champs. I say all that to say, at some point in time during your careers, you both were captain. What did that mean to you? Is it something you envisioned? Is it something that you accepted? And I only say that because while I was there, which was probably the same time Ralph was there, Big Coach selected the captain. And that really wasn't a coveted position, to be honest with you. But it was one of those deals where the three of us carried that crown. What did it mean to both of you?
Well, it realistically, Gene, it was more privilege than anything else, right? Mm-hmm. Being a captain, one, you know, you were a captain on some pretty darn successful teams, but more than anything else, it was following in the tradition of, some people before you who it meant a lot to. You were being a leader on a team that had accomplished a lot. And it was, and yes, it came with a lot of problems and a lot of MFs and a lot of everything. But quite frankly, it was a privilege because you were following in the track of the Sleepy Floyds. And quite frankly, Gene, you and Freddie's tradition. And you can go down the list of guys each year that you're doing. And then to think the success that came during the years that you were there and during the years that you were being a part of the captaincy and the traditions that we're building and the legacy that you were leaving going forward, it meant a lot.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. One of the things that I think Ralph hit the nail on the head when he said it was an honor. It was an honor because I believe that it showed that Coach believed in me enough that, he knew he knew that I knew what the expectations were for the team. And to be a captain and to follow all those great captains at Georgetown, it was something very special to me. And then I was co-captain along with Perry McDonald. And so Perry and I, it was a huge ordeal for me. As I look back, you name all the things that we won and all the things that we did. Leading the Georgetown team was one of the greatest honors that I had at Georgetown. That meant the world to me.
I can't, hey, Ralph, I can't say shit after that. I was going to add something, but I couldn't say it any better, Ronnie. I want to keep going with that in terms of talking about team chemistry because we were on some dope teams and not all of them were successful. So I'm gonna start with you, Ronnie. What was the difference between the 87 and 88 team? I think it's 87 and 86 and 87 team.
Well, that was the Reggie and the Miracle year. Right. So it was that was huge because we're Reggie is the last of that championship team, and so coming into that year, we felt we still had a lot to prove. We felt that we were still a force in the Big East. Yeah, we had lost the David Wingates, the Michael Jackson, the Horace Broadnacks. We had lost a lot, but we still had Reggie, and Reggie was a force, and
you ain't gotta tell me.
Reggie. I look back at that freshman year with Patrick. Patrick is one of those guys that Patrick just makes everybody raise their level of play by simply how hard he plays.
Yeah.
Reggie wanted everybody to be great, but Reggie wasn't as subtle, as
and see, that's so interesting because you would think Reggie was more subtle than Patrick. Yeah. Great point.
Reggie was die hard, but Reggie wanted to win. And coming into that year, we felt that we were going to win. And then when we won our first few games, and then people started saying, okay, these guys aren't bums, So, and our goal was to prove to people that we still belong, and we're still Georgetown. We still got that G. So we came ready to win. And it was big for us, and everybody was there playing for one another and wanting to prove the world that Georgetown was still Georgetown.
Got it. Big Sexy, I want to ask you about, because you got a few more teams because you decided to bless us with an extra year. 82, 84, and 85. Just like Ronnie just gave us a subtle tweak of what was different. What was different between those three teams? Because they were all uber successful. But what was the common denominator? We left some shit on the table, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, vastly different teams, right? 82, which was my injured year, but I was as much a part of the team as anybody. We had 6 seniors. And you know what? they were, they set the tone. They were the leaders, and they ruled, basically. And they made sure things were done the way things needed to be done. And nobody really tried them, and they got things done. And the leadership came from the seniors. Yes, Patrick was the star, and he was jumping out of the gym and this and that, and Gene, Freddie, everybody was contributing, but the seniors were the drivers, and that's where the leadership came from. So that was a very, very different experience. Then when those guys left, as you know, 80, the next year was a struggle year for us, and we were trying to recover because we didn't have that senior leadership. But then 84 came about, which was Gene, you and Freddie's senior year. And once again, we had strong leadership, and then, myself, Patrick, and Bill Martin, we were the juniors, we contributed, but, Freddie and Gene weren't anyone to trifle with as well. We had strong leadership, but we also had a very strong freshman class. And also for that matter, our sophomores, who had been stars the year before, even though we struggled that year, they came in and started taking a more leadership role as well. So everybody played the role, but quite frankly, the driver behind that was Gene and Freddie. So we had strong leadership that year. That was the year we won the championship, and that's one of the biggest pictures of the year is when John Thompson grabbed Freddie and hugged him tight.
360, that's a 360.
Exactly.
Yep.
And then, 1985, when the leadership then was myself, Patrick, and Bill Martin, right? But again, Horace, David, Michael, they stepped into and became strong leaders as well. And then, Reggie, he assumed his role and took a greater lead after the great year he had in 1984 and the things he were accomplished. Again, we just had strong, and then we had a good freshman class that came in that year as well. But, it always comes down to that senior leadership plays a huge role, in keeping the direction. And then also Coach Thompson keeps us all, keeps us all on the straight and narrow and keeps us all focused. But again, the leadership that started for us from 1982, our freshman year, carried over, and following in the traditions of those leaders to Kurt Cole and David Blue, which we didn't have as successful a year, but they played a role in it, to Gene and Freddie, to our year, and then it goes from there. And then for that matter, the year we talked about that we struggled in 1986, but we still made the NCAAs. That was my last year playing my extra year, but that was Michael's leadership, David's leadership, Horace's leadership, and I played a role there as well. And we still kept it going, and then it flowed into Ronnie and Perry and Reggie's year in '87 with Reggie and the Miracles or whatever. But It all came down to the leadership. And, obviously we played hard. Obviously we wanted our respect, and we got our respect. But, that leadership is what carried over, and I think is the thing that keeps, the Georgetown program as strong as it is now.
I love talking to my Hoyas, because it's like you're going to say something. I'll have one thought in my head, and you say something, and it triggers something else. So this senior leadership you keep mentioning, what you two represented to me was a combination of Lonnie Doran and Ed Spriggs. And the reason why I say that, Ralph and I spent some time together side by side, injured in the 81-82 season. I don't know if you remember, Ralph, we both were injured at the same time.
Oh, absolutely.
There wasn't a play during the game where Ralph and I weren't like limping or trying to get up to cheer and to, implore our team on. And to Ralph's point, talking about legacy, if you go back to the 79, 78, 77 games, you will literally see Lonnie Doran lurching onto the court or yelling expletives at the opponent. You
Right.
two, if you go back, again, I watched the St. John, you guys don't sit down. You're constantly cheering your team on. And that shit means that when I watch a game, I look at the bench. I watch what's going on the bench because we have a legacy. Our bench gets busy. You're going to hear from our bench during the game. And that's part of, we used to jump down and wipe the floor before the referee.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe other than Reggie. Reggie used to kick the ball to the referee. And then I mentioned Eric Spriggs because you both always delivered the mail. You know, Ralph, Georgia Tech game. Ronnie, as I mentioned, the St. John's game, valuable minutes. You always came in when least expected and performed what was needed. Role players, but you assume that position. How did you pick up that legacy and take that baton? Is it something that Coach talked to you about, or is that just the passion built in both of you? Because when I tell you, that's what I look for. And Ronnie, I'll start with you.
Well, I think it's when you play a team sport, you definitely want to support your teammates. But was it amplified a little bit when I went to Georgetown? Absolutely. Because one of the things that I think that as we went and played team sport, one of the things that I noticed most about Georgetown was how everyone cheered and was happy for everyone on the team's success. And for me, that person, when I came to Georgetown, believe it or not, yeah, Coach talked about it, all that stuff, and he preached that. But Patrick was that guy for me because I've never seen a guy that was a straight out superstar that would get more excited when his teammate did something.
You ain't never lied about that. Woo!
And more so than when he did something. Patrick was excited for you. That meant a whole lot for me. And I was like, now, here's Patrick. And if Patrick can get excited when his teammate does something, every damn body should get excited. And it was easy because we did want so much success for each other that it became one of those things where, yeah, I can see like waving that towel over there and then just cheering on the team because I wanted them to be successful, and that just stuck with me. But Patrick was the one that drove that home for me because that guy really was happy every time his teammate did something, and that just stuck with me more than anything.
When you got one of the dopest cats in the country getting
Yes.
excited when you make a layup.
Yes,
What's
absolutely.
better? What's
Absolutely.
better?
So that was huge for me.
Yeah. Big Sexy.
Well, I share in Ronnie's enthusiasm for Patrick and for a lot of different reasons, Gene, as you know, and as you all know how close I am with him. However, the thing that always stands out in my mind, Gene, as you know, I was injured my freshman year and lost my entire freshman year to injury. The most frustrating year for me was 1986, trying to come back from that injury. It was tougher coming back from the injury than the year I was injured. Yeah. However, the learning experience I had that first year as we sat on that sideline is as much as I appreciate and value Patrick, quite honestly, Ed Spriggs was everything to me. He was a leader who exemplified everything that I ever knew about Georgetown, everything I ever wanted to know about Georgetown. But I turned out to be a role player for Georgetown. There were times that I played, and I played a lot of different roles, but quite honestly, I was a role player for Georgetown. And my role sometimes was being, its number one cheerleader sometimes. And that whole freshman year, I was that. But I watched Ed Spriggs. I watched Ron Blaylock. Ron didn't always play a lot of minutes, but he was always a number one fan. Mm-hmm. All of us were, and I realized I sat and watched these seniors, and they exemplified Georgetown. They exemplified that leadership. it didn't matter if they were on the court or off the court. It was, they were as happy for their teammates and played as much a part in being of the success of Georgetown as anybody. And I knew I wanted to be a part of that. Then when I came back from my injury, I still played that role, but I also played several different other roles. But I never forgot the lessons I learned from my freshman year.
Let me add something, Gene, before you.
Please.
And I like to recognize Coach Spriggs too. And here's why. Coach Spriggs, was famous for, as they say, the big man drill. Coach Spriggs will be on the end working with the big guy and putting us through the ringer. But let me tell you something. Ralph is 100% right. Learning so much from Coach Spriggs, because number one, he kind of taught you the game in a different way. He kind of taught you the game from his eyes, and so it helped us. And I mean, there'd be days where we would go to war down there in those big man drills because Coach Spriggs will get you pumped up.
Let it go.
Coach Spriggs let you go. And it was one of the greatest things. But his knowledge of the game and the way he shared his view of the game to us, it was big as well. And so I didn't want to leave that out because he was a huge part.
I just got to tell you both. I mean, this is episode 23. It's hard for me to go through an episode and not mention Coach Spriggs. Just because, like you, Ronnie, he came to us a little older, right? So it's just one of those deals where he's a grown-ass man. And he really is not shucking and jiving at all. Like, he was seriously all about business. And I don't know if Ralph remembers, and I tell this story because I love it. You remember, Ralph, 82, we're in the Western Regional Finals or semifinals. I think we're playing Fresno State.
Yeah.
And Barry Martin and I are doing some typical inner high DC basketball shit. We're banging on the lockers, Ronnie, getting pumped up. And I'm literally walking around the locker room to everybody, Ronnie. A man gotta do what a man gotta do. After about 15, 16 times, Ronnie, Ed Spriggs said, "Hey, man, we got it." You hurt my feelings, Ronnie. Well, do you remember that?
That's just one of many crazy times, and some of the things that, pregame stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I just wanted to share that. And I want to digress for a second, Ronnie, because there's a rumor, Ronnie, during, I think it was your senior season, and you guys were, having a rough season, and you mentioned you and PMAC were co-captains. Tell me about this meeting you called.
Well,
because nobody calls in the meetings but Big John, by the way.
Well, it was one of those things where we truly felt like the team just wasn't playing like we was capable of playing. I mean, that's the long and short of it. And we was like, we're better than that. And it's disappointing that we got some immaturity on the team, and we got some young men that just didn't quite understand what this legacy was all about. And we wanted to have a meeting because we didn't feel that was coach's job to do that, as captains and co-captains. We felt like, it's time for us to step up and show our value to the team. And, we had that meeting and then we started to play better. Yeah. But were we outmanned in a lot of ways that year? Maybe not, but maturity wise, I think we was lacking.
That's that team chemistry. Yeah.
Right. We didn't gel like we should have. And again, we can say it was youth. We could even say, hey, we as co-captains didn't do the job that we should have done. We could have been better. But that team meeting was about, hey, we didn't come here to be cute. We do, that's not who we are.
That's not who we are.
We blue collars guys.
We play ugly. We play ugly. We win ugly.
We go to war. That's what we do. And if we want to play cute and we want to play pretty, you probably shouldn't be.
Yeah, go to Maryland. Go to Maryland. No disrespect, Maryland, but you could be a Turk.
You was wearing that blue and gray, and it meant something different for us, and that's what that meeting was all about. So,
I appreciate you guys having that meeting, and it took a lot of balls because if Coach ever found out, woo, I don't know how that would have went over. So you trying to do my job? Ralph,
we had four freshmen coming in my year.
That's rough.
That was me, Perry, Grady Mateen, and Kevin, right?
Right.
And we had some issues. As Ralph know, we had some issues. You know?
Those four freshmen weren't Ralph Dalton, Anthony Jones, Billy Martin, and Patrick Ewing.
we had and you guys know, what happens in the gym stays in the gym. And,
what happens in the locker room stays in the locker room.
It's in the locker room. We had some stuff going on and some stuff being shared and that wasn't supposed to. So, the four freshmen decided that we was going to address this issue ourselves, right? Big mistake.
Don't go that way.
Big mistake. Now, me being a little bit older than the other freshmen, I said, look, we're going to handle this like men. That there ain't going to be no yelling, getting upset, none of that stuff. We're just going to have a conversation. We're going to speak about it. Well, that lasted about a hot 30 seconds. I said, oh, hell. Oh, hell broke loose up in there.
All right.
This is not a good picture.
Not a good picture.
So naturally, just get back to Coach, right? And boy, you were talking about really didn't want to go to practice that day. Go to practice. We as freshmen, we had to hear about it, boy. And it wasn't nice, but it was one of those things that was necessary.
Sure.
Necessary, and we took we bit the bullet for it. But looking back, I don't think I would have changed it because it was something that had to be said. But yeah.
Appreciate that. Ralph, I'm going to go back to your freshman year and your injury because like I mentioned, I was there beside you. And I know what I did to get back on the court. And it pales in comparison to what you did to get back on the court and become the player and the person that you are. You're the epitome of perseverance and commitment to excellence. Your injury was one that there's a reason why your shoe is in the Smithsonian. There's a reason why. I think you brought more attention to what Hoya gear, Hoya shoes was all about because your shit was so iconic. But I really need you to speak to what it took for you to come back and not only come back, but come back and contribute in the way that you did. And I know I'm putting you on the spot because these two dudes here are two of the most humblest cats you ever want to meet. And the fact that you guys are doing this, again, I want to express how appreciative I am of that. But Ralph, I'm going to need you to, give us a little deeper perspective on that.
Well, that was, as you know, Gene, that was a tough year for us all, right? But my story starts with, as you know, the injury was tough, but my story starts with Lori Michaels, right? And Dr. McCarty, who they all helped put me back together again. Gene, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Okay. They put me back together again. And it was a tough year, and from the time I got injured in the beginning of October to April, I was on crutches. It wasn't easy. It was tough, but, they kind of kept me together. But quite frankly, the big thing that helped is I was still as much a part of the team as anybody. You know, I had to be in the gym every day, you know, and even though I was sitting on the sideline, one leg and all, you know, playing with the ball, doing this and that, and still getting cussed out as much as anybody by Coach Thompson, you know, because I was playing with the ball while he was trying to do stuff, you know, with the team and things like that. But I still tried to stay active and still tried to stay as much a part of the team. And as much as you say, you know, I was cheering in the games and things like that, I did that in practice as well, you know, because I literally sat there every day, you know, on the sidelines, on crutches, you know, getting around. And as you know, Gene, I wasn't very mobile because I had a full leg cast on the whole time, couldn't put any pressure on it. So I didn't do anything fast. And even when I came back from the injury, I'm still not sure I did anything fast. But, you know, but it's, you know, I go back to when they did the surgery on me, and the next day after the surgery, they put the cast on me. You know, I'm like, well, doc, when do you think I can get back? And, you know, the doctor was like, well, you know, at best case scenario, maybe 2 years. And when they told me that, you know, and you know, men aren't supposed to say this or whatever, but quite frankly, throughout that whole time with all the pain and this and that, that was the only time I cried. But then that pissed me off, because I was like, this injury is not going to be the thing that's going to change this whole program for me. You know, it wasn't going to be the thing to stop me. So it pissed me off, and every opportunity I got to do something that could help me get better, that could help me get back to where I wanted to be, I did it. And Miss Michaels was the driver behind that. And, you know, as soon as I got that cast off and I could start working on the machines, I worked on the machines.
Yes, you did.
And I did more than I ever, you know, and when they said do this, I did a lot more than just that. And I just worked hard, and basically that next year, by the time the season started, they told me 2 years, but that next year, by the time the season started, I was to the point where I could start working out, and they still had me on restrictions, but I didn't care. You know, I still worked. And by the next season, I was able to at least get back in and do some things. And that was all a part of Miss Michaels, the design we put together, Nike working with us, you know, working with the NIH and helping to design the braces and things that I need, because as you know, I had to drop foot. It was a combination of a lot of different things that helped me get to that point, and a lot of different people that helped me get to that point. And quite frankly, as I said, when we started this off, I didn't want to disappoint my mom / my family, but quite frankly, I didn't want to disappoint all those people who worked so hard to get me back to that point. I had to be successful. I didn't have a choice. And besides that, they pissed me off and made me much more determined.
Yes, sir. Again, thank you for sharing that. I know that's not something that you share lightly. And having been there through that process, I just want to tell you, fam, at no point in time did anyone doubt that you were coming back. And, you know, and that's just kind of how the locker room was. And I'm sure you both can attest to that during your years there. Like the support, it might have been a quiet support. Like, again, what Ed Spriggs taught me the most was you ain't got to be loud about what you do. But when you're in war, when you're in battle, you need to let motherfuckers know you're battling. And that you know, Ronnie spoke to that. I mean, we're not here looking in the mirror before we go out to play. And that was kind of that scenario. But thanks a million for sharing that, Ralph. Ronnie, I want to jump to you. Coming to G-Town, when you came to G-Town, already a grown-ass man, looking back, what would you tell yourself as a freshman that you didn't know? Even though you were a grown man, what would you tell yourself differently?
I would tell myself to relax and enjoy that moment, enjoy that time. I think one of the things that going to Georgetown, you always ask yourself, you know, can I fit in? Do I belong here? You know, but one of the things that we talk about letting people down. I left the military to go to school, and I didn't want to fail. You know, I wanted to be successful, and because I wanted to be successful, I think I put more pressure on myself than needed to be. You know, and in doing so, I don't think I enjoyed that experience like a lot of other people would have, you know, because was it business 24/7? No, it wasn't. But was it always on my mind that I'm here for a purpose? I'm here for a different reason than other people. And yeah, it wasn't just because I was there for basketball, because yeah, I was there to get an education at one of the best schools in the country. And all of those things was that added pressure.
Mm.
And because of the pressure, I didn't really, in looking back, I didn't really take advantage of that. I didn't enjoy it like I should because of the added pressure that I put on myself.
Again, like I said, I love talking to my brothers because, Ronnie, I share that sentiment. But I share it from a standpoint that I felt Big Coach. I like calling him Big Coach now because that's what the youngins call him. It's better than Big John. So Big Coach kind of set it up that way, Ronnie. It almost felt like to me. Like, you know, he had the deflated basketball. You know, we had those mental practices. It always felt like your time to celebrate and appreciate this was supposed to come later.
Yes. Agreed.
Yeah. And I just felt like, you know, and again, coming in as a player that he, you know, in his direct way, I'm not bringing you here to play. I'm bringing you here to be a practice guy, right? And that was a speech, and that worked for me. I've said that time and time again because not for anyone to go, ooh, geez. No, that worked for me. And just throughout the process, it's like, yo, this is not a honeymoon. Like, this is not, you know, when you got a guy telling you 6'8" coming, the next coming of Dr. J is coming, you know, that's not somebody who's trying to make you comfortable.
Right.
So I say all that to say it's almost is why I think we all have this common thread. And I cannot talk to you, Ron. Last time I saw you, Ronnie, was out here in LA. And I just called you up. I think we just met for breakfast or coffee, whatever. But it was like 45 minutes went like that because we share so much. I cannot talk to Ralph for 5 years. But let us get in the room and it'll be nonstop conversation. So you touched on something. It was almost like set up for, yeah, you enjoy it, but you're not smelling the flowers and the roses while you're there. So, you know, that's the Georgetown experience, and I wouldn't trade it in for anything in the world.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Go back and know if I knew then what I know, it would have been a different story.
Right.
Big Sexy, what can you add to that, Big Sexy? And just for the record, the reason why Ralph is AKA Big Sexy to a lot of us is because if there's one guy, if you have a daughter that you want her to bring home because he's going to have great manners, he's going to articulate his words, he's going to open the door for her, he's going to protect and serve, it's Ralph Dalton. So that's why we call him Big Sexy. Ralph, what would be your older self telling your younger self?
Yeah, I want to pick up on the same sentiment that you and Ronnie just spoke of, in that if I could talk to my younger self, it would have been to relax a little more, enjoy yourself a little more. But the one thing I will add to that is, the one thing I wish I would have done more is that when we came in, we were individuals that became a part of a much bigger thing, a much bigger team, and we wanted to be a part of it, and we worked very hard to be that. And that whole Hoya paranoia thing. But the one thing that I would recommend to folks, and I wish I would have done, is I wish I would have opened myself up and opened my mind up a little bit more to let other people in. And basically, the one thing I wish I would have done, whether it were basketball, schools, work, access to the corporate world is I wish I would have had more mentors, and I would have allowed myself to put myself out there more, to communicate with people a lot more, so that I could have had more mentors. Because I spend a lot of time, I have 3 kids now, and I spend a lot of time talking to my kids about get as many mentors as you can. And all 3, you know, my youngest kid is a freshman now, and my other 2 kids have, you know, relatively recently graduated from college. And the one thing I preach to them is get as many mentors as you can, whether it's related to the sports you're a part of, whether it's related to the career you want to be a part of, whether it's related to your, you know, your majors in school. But that's what's going to help you later in life. That's what's going to help you become more successful. That's what's going to help you stay focused. I wish I would have opened myself up to let more people in, / in particular, more mentors.
Very
And
true, Ralph. Very true.
very true. And we just hit an hour, and I try to use that as a kind of a tipping point. Like, you guys have been great giving me your time, but Ralph just touched on one thing that I kind of want to, if we could segue out this way. But thanking you both from the bottom of my heart, from the bottom of my Hoya heart. You both have been extremely successful professionally. I think you both have carried that student athlete banner, and you basically showcased it. Ralph, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but if we can get into, you know, maybe some general observations or general sharing, how can we better prepare the student athlete as it relates to alumni in the illustrious University of Georgetown, opening yourself up to mentors, as you say, Ralph? What suggestions can we make or discuss, and maybe through the iCloud, through the cloud, they get passed on to some of the younger, to take advantage of the hilltop in a way that it's, you know, it commiserates with everything you do to put in on the court. Because, you know, to Ralph's point, mentors do matter. So what worked for you once you graduated to translate it into your professional success, and what can you share with those student athletes on the hilltop in particular to take advantage of those opportunities?
I guess I'll start there, Gene. It goes back to what I was just talking about. The one thing that I did over the years that wasn't talked a whole lot about, because I worked with, you know, Craig Estrick when he was around and his team, and then I also worked with John III and his guys as well, when I was more in a corporate setting where the guys would come up at some point and they would visit the trading floors that I worked on, and you know, they would spend a day meeting some of the people that I work with, spending time talking to me, but also spending time talking to some of the guys that I work with and some of the leadership that I work with. But Georgetown alumni has played a big role in my lifetime / my professional career after getting out of Georgetown. And it could have even been more if I would have had more mentors when I was at Georgetown. But I've given them some exposure to working in that environment, or at least having exposure to it in the event that someday they'd like to try that. But I've also tried to, you know, give some of the wisdom, limited wisdom that I've had over the years to, you know, maybe help them figure out what they want to do, what they don't want to do. But just opening yourself up to meet people, to talk to people. And when you do get a chance to meet people, not to just sit there and be quiet, but to say, hey, look, I don't know that this is what I want to do with the rest of my life, but I'd like to at least know what you do and why you chose to do it, and at least have that conversation. If you don't open yourself up to that conversation, you know, then you do live in this cocoon that, you know, that a lot of people describe. But I think that's the first step, is one, just getting exposure to an environment, and especially if you can get the internships, because we've all had experience with the internships, and that was very instrumental in the success that all of us had. whether it's I'm talking, Ronnie talking, or you talking, Gene.
Mhm.
We all had that kind of exposure, and I think that's a tradition that needs to continue on over the years.
Well said. Well said. Sarge?
Well, again, I agree 100% with what Ralph is saying, and it was one of those things where did we have those opportunities? I'm sure they were there, but I don't think those buttons was pushed as much as maybe they should have been, because you know, like it or dislike it, we did have that mentality at Georgetown as us against the world. We did. It was just a part of who we were, and we did need more exposure in that business world, because as you walk away from your 4 years or however many years at Georgetown as you had, it was a whole new world. And Coach used the term, you're not going to be on scholarship for life. But were we always looking at life after Georgetown as much as we should have been? The answer is no. So to become more involved in the community, to become more involved in that mentorship program like Ralph was talking about, it's crucial as this young generation moves forward. One of the things that I look back and say, you know, hey, when I left Georgetown, and all Coach Thompson had to do is say, hey, I have a Hoya that wants to come and work with you. And when I was in the position to say, hey Coach, they're a Hoya, send them my way. You know, that meant the world. But was that enough? No, it wasn't enough, because there's so many opportunities out there for you know, those young guys to be exposed to, and exposure becomes one of those things where if you don't know about it, you can't really be exposed to. So we probably need to do a better job at shining that light on all the different people out there that can be a part of your life. You know, never have we been looking for handouts.
No.
Just looking for opportunities to move forward and do different things.
Well said, gentlemen. Well said. The only thing I will add is it starts with fellowship. It starts with things like this. We're all just a text away. And if anything that defines what Hoya Locker Room is us staying connected. And I just love the way you both put it. In particular, Ralph, when you mentioned being open to it. Ask the question. Yo, Ronnie, what's up, man? Haven't seen you in a while. What you doing now? Oh, yo, Big Sex, I ain't seen you for a minute. What you doing? It's something as simple as that. And then it becomes a conversation. And it may not be anything direct. It may be indirect, right? But Ronnie, you said something huge. We're not looking for handouts. That's not, you know, we weren't built that way.
Right.
We didn't leave Georgetown thinking that somebody was sitting there with a silver spoon. But the flip side of that is Georgetown is a spot where it makes a lot of things happen in the world. And if there's something you're uniquely or passionately interested in, somebody from Georgetown is probably doing it.
Right.
And at the very least, that's a conversation. I love you both. I look forward to the next time we can connect. Thank you for your time. Ralph, I need that chair, by the way. I love that chair. Salute to you both. Best of luck during these challenging times. And, you know, don't be a stranger for sure, family.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Dean, and good seeing you, Ralph. It's been a while.
Good seeing you both, guys.
All right.
I'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you, Gene.
Cheers.
Talk to you.
All right. Bye.